Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of the Unstoppable Dad Project. Good to be back for another week. Had a little bit of technical difficulties last week where I recorded a podcast, but I didn't record a podcast. So I didn't actually hit record on the audio side of things. So we had video, but no audio. So as a result, missed out on doing one last week, but I'm back to it this week. And this week is a little bit of a reflective podcast because over the course of the last week, I've been dealing with a lot of different emotions and feelings around basically what's happening in the world at the moment, and been in a pretty dark place, to be perfectly honest with you, where, there's a lot of things that are happening that are impacting my life personally and those lives around me. And as a result, I just wanted to kind of do a podcast and talk through that, because there's been a lot of people that I've talked to are obviously struggling very, very hard at the moment. And one thing that I got quite angry and I got quite agitated about was I was having an email exchange with somebody. To be honest, I can't even remember who it is. This is how fleeting some of these emotions can be. And I got very, very worked up and very, very angry around somebody responded to me and they go, like, I understand. And my initial reaction is, well, you don't fucking understand because you're not me. And that when I kind of stood away and I stood back and went to process that and like, why did I get so angry over that? And then I kind of started looking at all the times where I've said to somebody like, oh, it's okay, I understand. And it really got me thinking about saying that to somebody and the fact that we actually don't understand. And the fact is, you never will. You're never going to understand exactly what somebody is going through because you're not them. You're not looking at the particular situation or scenario from their perspective, through their lens, which is formed through their experiences and through what they've done. And everyone has a unique set of experiences that forms their opinion and forms their understanding of something and forms the way they react to something, whether that be positively or negatively, whether it be highly emotional or it be the suppression of emotions. Like, these are all things that form how we feel about particular things. And it's interesting because this led me down kind of a really big rabbit hole of, if I feel like I'm responding to something, what I feel is maybe poorly, how do I stop that? And it wasn't until I listened last week, and I listened to a podcast with Jason Williams on Joe Rogan, and I strongly recommend that as a man and as a father, if you haven't listened to that podcast, go and listen to it, because there is some really good conversation around men dealing with emotions. And one of the things that really struck me is, because this is something that I've really struggled with a lot over the years. And one of the lines, and I'm paraphrasing here and I'm hoping that I'm not butchering it, is, it's okay to feel that, but we need to learn to process that. So in short, what that was it's natural to feel emotions. It's natural to feel angry about something, because use the example of this person saying, I understand. And see, the thing is, the person it was coming from angered me because I really didn't know, like I don't have a lot of to do with this person. Whereas if it was coming from somebody different, it may not have angered me as much. But it's okay for me to feel angry and upset. But the thing that I know I've done, and I know we do a lot as men, or a lot of men do, is we suppress that, or we try and be like, no, I shouldn't feel like that. I shouldn't, I shouldn't feel angry. I shouldn't feel emotional. Well, we actually should. We should feel like that. But we want to try not to hold on to that. We want to process that and process that in a way where we are actually dealing with it and not just like, oh, it's okay to feel like that, but then telling ourselves it's okay, but then suppressing that. And that was, as I said, I would strongly recommend anybody, any male, any dad, go listen to that podcast, because for me, it was super insightful and it was super helpful. And it came at a really pertinent time for me, because over the last couple of weeks, I have been highly emotional. I've been highly agitated, highly stressed. There has been a whole gambit of emotions that I've been going through around different situations and different circumstances due to due to a lot of external factors. And I think just hearing, because it's something that we're not told enough, that it's okay to feel that, and it's okay to, as a man, to feel that way, whether it's sad, whether it's angry. It's part of the human experience to feel that. But then we need to be able to go and do something to actually process that emotion. And whether that be something along the lines of, and they talk about meditation. I've actually, since then, if I need to process something, what I've done is I've actually kind of ramped up my journaling a little bit. Those of you that have potentially worked with me know that this is a tool that I use. And the way I've kind of ramped that up over the last week is like, if I feel like I'm in this really high state of heightened emotion, in order to process it, I'll actually get that thought out of my head and write it down on paper. And write down, why I feel this way, why I feel angry about it, why that person will never understand, and what, and things like that. And, it's been a really interesting, reflective couple of weeks, months, even the last 18 months for me around dealing with emotions, because we are in such a high stress, such a high emotional time, that I know my default, due to my experiences, is to, I get these heightened states of anger, I get these heightened states of sadness, being emotional, and I try and get rid of it, rather than just accepting that that's how I am and that's why I that's part of the experience, but then processing it afterwards, not just being like, no, it's okay to feel like that, and being caught in that loop for weeks and weeks and months on end. It's kind of like, what I took away when I was listening to this was, it's okay to feel like that, and you need to give yourself time to feel like that, but you don't want it to be prolonged, because you don't want to constantly be angry or constantly be in this fight or flight scenario with your feelings and your emotions. And it's a very interesting thing, and it's something that I know personally I've struggled with. And then on top of that, it's really got me thinking too about my kids and raising them, and how potentially approaching interactions with them in a different way could set them up to be able to deal with these things. They can be better equipped to deal with these things around, if they get upset about something, letting them know that it's okay to be upset. It's okay to cry, especially my son. Like, anybody that's of, the same generation as me, and this is not a knock on our parents at all. This is just how it was in the time. And there's plenty of good things about the way we were brought up. But from a male point of view, being equipped to deal with emotions, there's a big void that kind of hasn't been addressed. So, it's that balancing act, and that's that fine line between not just giving them everything, making them resilient enough so that they're going to excel in their own lives in their own way, without you holding their hand when they're 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, all the way into like their late years. But also too letting them know that it's okay. Like, it's okay to be upset about things. It's okay to feel hurt if maybe we yell at you and we shouldn't have. And then for us admitting that we're wrong so that they can see that side. And then also too, one of the biggest things that I really heard out of this was, you know, letting them see you deal with your own emotions. Like, as a dad, you don't have to be this stoic, tough person. You're letting your kids see you get upset and cry, and going through that, because going through that whole gambit, that whole spectrum to come out the other side and kind of process it is an important thing as well, because as I think all of us know that maybe have kids that are a little bit older, they are going to mimic a lot of what you do in their early ages. They are going to, the amount of times that I've seen one of my two kids do something or process something in a way which is 100% reflective of the way myself or my wife respond to stuff, I have to check myself every time I do that. And I guess this whole conversation around men feeling emotions and feeling angry and hard done by and feeling upset and wanting to cry and that being okay is something that needs to continue. But it not only needs to continue with us, it needs to continue with our kids and continue through the example of how we're teaching our kids to deal with emotions, and how we're letting them how we're helping them understand that this is a natural process of being human. Because the old narrative of don't cry, and yeah, look, and this is where the dichotomy of where we're going to, like, there's a fine line, right? Because you don't want them crying over everything, but if they're really upset about something, like, it's okay to cry and it's okay to let it out. It's okay to feel angry about something. And it's been a really, really interesting retrospective couple of weeks, not only with the experiences that are going on for myself externally, but also having a look at that, having a look at how I can apply that to help my children being able to deal with their emotions and growing up, and equipping them so that they can do it as they get older. And, the fact of the matter is, and I think I'll finish off on this, we have that, one of the whole things that kind of took me down this path was somebody sending me like an email where it's like, I understand. And then me getting upset about how, like, you won't understand. And the fact is, even though that sentence can be well-meaning, you're never going to truly understand. Because even though we could have very, very similar circumstances in that particular moment, you can't truly understand how somebody is processing that, because they are looking at it through their own lens. They are looking at it through their own experiences, and that is going to form their perception of what is going on at that particular point in time. And I think we know that perception is reality. Sometimes the way we perceive a situation is our own individual reality. So you're never going to truly understand. And one thing that I'm going to definitely be making a conscious effort to do, other than the stuff that I'm talking about, is if somebody's talking to me about a problem, and I obviously get it a lot in my profession. I often joke where from a gym coach point of view, we're a fitness coach, we're also a lifestyle coach, and at times we're also a counselor as well. Not that I'm a qualified counselor, I'm not preaching that, but it's to put things in, because they feel comfortable with us and they want to talk to us about things that are going on. One thing I'm going to really make a conscious effort when I'm talking to people, and then also when I'm processing things myself, is try not to say I understand, unless of course they're trying to give me facts and I'm telling them that I understand the facts. But when it talks to them, like, it's I understand. And because I don't understand. I'm never going to understand, even though the situation that I am going through with is very, maybe very similar, or I've been through a situation that's very similar. I'm never truly going to understand exactly what that person is feeling now, but instead let them know that it's okay to feel that way, and that they need to take some time to process that emotion and the way that they are feeling, because that then will allow them to move on from that situation. And as men, we all too often forget to tell ourselves it's okay to feel a particular way. But not only that, then forget to process what we need to in order to come out of the other side of that feeling. And that, for me personally, has caused me over the years a lot of heartache, a lot of issues, and prolonged feelings around stuff, and it allowed me to not let go of some stuff that I needed to let go of a lot earlier. So, dads, I know everyone's going through it right now. I know there are a lot of people that are struggling physically, mentally, emotionally, financially, and we're here to talk. Just know these emotions, it's okay to feel it. Try and do something for yourself to process them. And that may mean that you have to teach yourself a new skill in order to do it. But it is one way that I know, after the things that I've been through over the last couple of weeks, has really helped me, that when something comes up, dealing with it rather than trying to be the tough guy and suppress it. That's it for this week. As always, if you got some value out of the topics that we went through, this reflective podcast, share it around. Share it around with other dads, share it around with anybody that you think might get some value of it. You'll be able to find the podcast on all the podcast platforms. So Spotify, Apple, Google, all those platforms. You'll also be able to find it on YouTube. And the other thing that we are doing is we are publishing some of the full video versions of our podcast up on our Facebook and Instagram pages. So Facebook, The Unstoppable Dad Project, and Instagram at The Unstoppable Dad. While you're on the Facebook page, you can jump on and add yourself to our free Facebook group that we have there. So thanks for listening. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you next week.